very much, Helen. The other aspects of health and safety are that the toilets are behind me. Is there another one?
There's one just there.
Yeah, I have one right there. If there is an emergency of any sort, whether it be earthquake, fire, or tsunami, the main car park is where we all gather and make sure we're all okay. If there is anybody who smokes or vapes, down by the beach, thank you very much. So with number one on the agenda, as well as number two, I will now call for apologies, which we're all here. Yeah. We will go straight into number four and ensure that we're covering off any declarations of conflicts of interest. Are there any that need to be signalled before we start the meeting? There being none. Thank you very much. We'll move straight into the public forum, which is 4A, presentation by the Bream Bay Guardians Society. As I've already mentioned, Mary, Jill, welcome. It's really not up to me to welcome you, but to the meeting itself, welcome. It's great to see you. I'm sure you've been briefed about the time that's available to you. Straight over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Papa and Arma and Rapti, for your welcome and for your introduction today. It is a huge pleasure for Jill and Malcolm and I to be here to talk to you. I'm going to sit now. Is that all right? But yeah, I really appreciate it. We, the three of us, represent the Bream Bay Guardians, and we're a relatively new organisation. We're established in January 2025. And our agreed purposes are exactly what Anima was talking about, is to protect and preserve Te Ako Bream Bay, our environment, and to facilitate initiatives that challenge our environmental sustainability. As you can see, this is a very, very important part of katoa to be able to protect. It's a privilege to address you today, and on behalf of the Guardians, in doing so, we would like to validate the wider Bream Bay community opposition to the proposed sand extraction. We'd like to comment and expand on the Bream Bay Guardians supporting evidence and our expert reports. We'd like to support endorsement of your draft comments to the fast track expert panel, and we'd like to respectfully request that we consider an amendment encouraging the fast track expert panel to invite the Bream Bay Guardians comment on the sand extraction proposal. So just mentioning briefly our validation, we do represent the wider Bream Bay community. We are working in close partnership with iwi and with Patahata Keke in particular. And you will note when you read the Fast Track website that Patahata Keke will be quite prominent and important alongside Ngāti Wai in the opposition of the Fast Track panel. We also have validation from our wider community. An independent survey that we have undertaken by a consultant validates that 97% of all of the respondents in the survey, and sure it wasn't 100% of the community, but 97% of the respondents oppose the proposed sand extraction proposal. So moving on to the expert reports, we're not going to talk about them all, but there are 5 that we want to bring to your attention. So our evidence supports the reports that can be commissioned by the NRC, but we have a slightly broader scope and more detailed evidence in terms of market analysis, ecology and coastal processes. So let me address first of all the McCullum's assertion that there is a sand shortage, particularly in Auckland. A commission report by Becker indicates that Auckland currently has a reliable and sufficient supply through existing sand mining consents. An additional commission report supports producing manufactured sand as an internationally accepted alternative. In short, the McCullum assertion that there is a need and a shortage of sand cannot be demonstrated by the experts. Let me talk secondly about the threats to the recovering marine ecosystem. The seabed targeted for extraction is currently protected under the Fisheries Act scold ban that has been in place for over 2 years. Recent ecological surveys commissioned by us and reported by marine expert Dr. Shaw Mead show encouraging signs of recovery in the scallop population. While McCullum claims sand extraction can occur around these populations, ecological evidence indicates that scallops cannot avoid dredging activity. Mining in this area would almost certainly disrupt recovery in decades, not only of the scallops, but the other parts of the ecology that are recovering. Thirdly, we'd like to just address briefly the cumulative environmental impacts. There is already a channel infrastructure consent of similar duration to dredge a similar volume of sand in Broome Bay. While the channel infrastructure consent and the McCullum's application may not compete on the same footprint, they do draw from the same sand in a closed sand system. There has been no assessment of the combined effects of these operations. Expert analysis by our contract coastal engineer, Sean John, highlights significant uncertainty around the impacts on coastal stability and seabed integrity. Additionally, there are ecological concerns about harm to endangered dolphins and shorebirds that rely on Broome Bay for breeding and habitat, particularly between Tauranga, the hen chicks, and the main coast. And finally, any imposed consent conditions that the panel may put in place or McCullum's are suggesting are unlikely to provide sufficient protection. There's a lot of history about McCullum's and the way they operate. But given the level of uncertainty, ensuring that environmental impacts are effectively monitored and managed will be complex, costly, and potentially insufficient to protect long-term damage to this environment. In conclusion, the Broome Bay Guardians support the Northern Regional Council position to oppose the McCullum's application. And we thank you for the time and expertise that you've committed in your comment today. We do, however, respectfully request that you consider recommending to the expert panel that the Broome Bay Guardians be also invited to comment, so our wider body of community knowledge, expertise and reports can present a full body of evidence that we are referencing briefly to you today. So thank you, Peter, and thank you, Jonathan, for your welcome to us. Did I do it in under 5? I did it under 5. Amazing. So the three of us, if councillors would like to ask any questions, Malcolm and Joel will join with me in answering any questions you may have about what we reported or anything else you have to do with the sand extraction.
Thank you very much. It's very clear and coherent and minutes. In terms of the standing order 15.3 questions from councillors, should there be any? Now's the time. Mr.
Through Chair. The channel resource consent to remove sand from the sandbar, is that actually moved from the system, or is it deposited within the system?
Ask Malcolm to answer that.
The channel infrastructure consent is based on the sand that is dredged from the channel to 97.5% of it to be dumped not far from here. And the other 2.5% has to be kept in reserve because Tonkin and Taylor, who was the same experts McCullum used, supported channel infrastructure's application. And in their final reports, they said they were unsure about the effect of the infrastructure dredging on Merebank, which is a major ecological feature in Broome Bay. So they have the consent requires them to keep 2.5% of sand available to dump near Broome Bay Basin. So it is here. The trouble is dumping it will kill a lot of wildlife. And secondly, it is exactly the same type of sand that McCullum thinks he needs to supply to Auckland.
So you may not be able to answer it, but that resource isn't removed from the coastal system, and yet it could be used by McCullum's. McCullum's actually removed it from the sandbar.
Technically, they could use it, yep. and there is no indication that they are trying to use it. One of the issues, and this issue with the infrastructure consent combined with the possible consent McCullum might get, is that there has been no work at all on the effects of both of them being mined together, and that one of the prime concerns is it's already under concern from just the channel infrastructure. McCullum's area where they are region is very close to Meadowbank. And we have had divers in the area McCullum wants to dredge, and most of you will have probably seen the Facebook page, 45 crayfish in the area, lots of scallops, things like that, which McCullum will not be able to avoid.
Any more questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation. Just a question, you referred to the independent survey that you commissioned, and you spoke about that 97% response rate around opposition. I just wondered what number of responses did you get in the survey?
Okay, thanks, Amy. There are over 1,500 responses to that, and we have we can provide you with the report and the comments that were made by people. Most people did that anonymously, but they gave their reasons for opposition as well. So it's a very, very interesting read, and yeah, it's been done independently. So it says a little bit more than us gathering 1,000 people on the beach at a protest. And we've done lots of those activities to bring the community around. And each of them, people have had the opportunity to take the survey, done a letterbox drop, we've advertised in the newspaper, so it's been done pretty objectively. Thanks, Amy.
Councillor Blackwood.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. As a kid, I used to spend a lot of time here at Manawai. I do remember the sand being extracted from the entrance. I keep it open. And I remember when Boulder went through, but I wasn't there at the time, how the effect it had on the history. But I'm actually only representing Kaikoura from the Hakaru West and North, so I'm John. But I do represent the West Coast, and they've got similar issues. 51% of the sand supplied to all people is coming out of Kaikoura. And then I was with Woodcock Farms, who farm near the Koutou Peninsula inside the harbour, are concerned about the dredging. Their land is eroding away. So we've got a really good team around here, got a high population base. Just remember that the West Coast has got similar issues, but doesn't have a manpower that you've got. And just
Let's talk about the Northern Sands Friday.
Yes,
before we do, understanding orders, questions are to obtain clarity on what's being presented. So if we're going out of that.
yes, we do understand that the people of Kaikoura Harbour are delighted with sand mining in their area. From our point of view, the ecological effects are far more in Green Bay than it is not a closed sand system here. It's growing larger every day, the runoffs that come from the farms and things like that. So we do recognise that we have been in touch with the people who are opposing there. 50% of the sand may come from the Kaikoura, but the current usage of sand in Auckland is about 300,000 cubic metres a year. Currently, including Kaikoura, it is over 1.2 million cubic metres available.
Thank you. Councillor, thank you very much for your excellent presentation, very comprehensive. It's brief. But we've debated this quite a bit, and we obviously came out saying we're all particularly interested in the use of other types of sand, manufactured sand, other permanent sand, and also other sources of sand, like land-based sources, West Coast sources. They don't have to be from the Kaikoura land. But my question is, are you actually confident that no assessment has been made as cumulative effects of what the colour of what to do and what the channel infrastructure will be doing. I'm confident of that. I would imagine if that's in fact the case, that should really cause the fast track panel to reinvestigate or reopen investigations into what would be cumulative effects be. Thank you.
Yeah, can I just comment on that? To determine that properly, it will take a large amount of money and a lot of time. It was required for the hybrid consents, it was required on Whakra, and for some reason Collins decided not to comment on it.
I don't imagine why. And can you confirm that if there are any other consents to take sand from Green Bay at all?
Not that I'm aware of, not in any large amount. There is sand taken from around Ruakaka, but it's dune sand, not seabed.
Thank you.
Yes. So just following on from Councillor Crawl's question, the analysis that was presented, talking to, I know that one of the owners of a Ruakaka-based, land-based sand extraction system at Townsville. And he said a couple of times, he said the manufactured sand is not deemed to be suitable for concrete at the moment. Concrete manufacturers do not think it's an adequate alternative, but I'm sure the manufacturers of sand will disagree with that. But in terms of quantum of sand that can be extracted land-based, can that match the amount that is needed to be taken by farmers? So can it be replaced by land-based sand?
Yeah, there is sufficient land-based sand to cover the demand of the market. Some of them are consented but not operating currently, but they are consented. The thing about manufactured sand, the myth in New Zealand is that manufactured sand is a new thing, and I'm not really sure about it. Japan's been using it for over 20 years in a geologically similar condition. They have earthquakes like we do. They have only used manufactured sand virtually for 20 years, as has China's use of manufactured sand of now over 50%. India has now had manufactured sand as a requirement because of the damage to their coast. So it is known around the world. It just hasn't hit New Zealand. Even in Australia, they're using a lot of sand.
Specifically the concrete?
Those are all the questions. Green Bay Guardians, Mary, Malcolm, Phil. Really thank you for your presentation, but also for your hard work, your energy and passion. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Darling, team, Carbon Neutral New Zealand Trust. Welcome to our council meeting. Same things apply in terms of rules, but darling, maharaki ana tō papa. Maharaki ana yo tupuna, tutuneiho, tau anu tau. Acknowledging your whakapapa, and Dad in particular. It's great to have you here. If you can introduce your colleagues as part of your kōrero,
Tēnā rā tātou katoa, he riri tine no te taitokerau. Darlene from Public Greenway. I'm here today with Inga Bremer and Rolf Mulugloda, who are Carbon Neutral Trust here in Aotearoa. They're based up in Kirikiri, although there is a branch of Carbon Neutral Trust based out on we're here today to talk about wastewater and how transforming wastewater for small rural communities. So Mahi has been focused on Te Kaipiro, Far North District in particular. Inga and Rolf have been following wastewater treatments for good 10 years now. And, you know, their whole driver is about how do we get our taiao, how do we get our environment and to support us. And so things like stopping polluting, greenhouse gas emissions, that kind of thing. When they started looking at wastewater, they were particularly interested in how can we protect, nourish the mauri, the life-supporting capacity of our awa, of our rivers and of our waiata. And when it comes to human waste, you know, there's a lot of it going into it at the minute. So how do we pull it back out of there? So on their papakainga from Kirikiri, they have about 6 or 7 or 8 little whare where people live full time. And so rather than maintain the septic discharge, what they did was they transferred over to this technology called electrocoagulation. I call it electroclumping, because like you're clumping all the pollutants together, your other waste, your other stream is a clean water stream. So it's a clear separation of those two. So they are doing this up in Kirikiri, and they're taking the clean waste, the clean water stream, which is 99.9% clean water, and they're using it to irrigate subsoil on their whenua, on their land or property. With the other resource stream, it's highly nutrient rich, right? It's an alternative to fertilizers that we're seeing. And they're using that, again, to nourish the whenua, right? So with them doing this work, and we're mindful perhaps of Far North District Council's attempts to set up 2 pilots in Rawene and in Taipa with this particular working at scale. But we've been hitting some roadblocks, you know. So they engaged myself. I'm not part of Carbon Neutral Trust. I work as an independent consultant. They engaged me to do a technical review, given my scientific engineering and business background, into the technology EC. And I reviewed, this is the report published out last year. I reviewed the use of the technology here in New Zealand, very small scale, tiny bench thing, but also overseas throughout Asia, in particular, and in Europe. It's a very, very different technology to the conventional biomechanical approach that we use today. This technology works in minutes. The separation into resource streams is very fast. And so you can manage it. And the attraction is it's modular. So you can right size it to the communities that you have. It works, in fact, is much more effective at separating out even some more complex pollutants, some of the viruses, the pathogens, bearing in mind that we are, our waste profile has changed significantly, right, in the last 40 years. We've got a lot more pharmaceuticals going through our body. Some of it is legal, some of it is less legal, right? We've also got a lot of things, a lot of contaminants that, you know, microplastics, relative new thing, right? Our conventional systems, our biomechanical systems, were never designed for that. They are unable to treat that, but technologies like EC are. So these two are sat there going, well, Darlene, if this all works, and there are demonstrable examples internationally, why are we not doing it here in Aotearoa? Several weeks ago, I presented the findings of this report to Far North District Council. We waited until after the local government elections because this should not be a political football. We presented the findings to them and we said to them, basically, hey, we've got our ponds here. which are not working. They're costing a lot of money. They're going to cost even more to upgrade. What if we can install something at a fraction of the cost, which would work and would enable us to move?
Darling, that
Yes.
5 minutes is elapsed.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Need to start.
I'm going to bring it to a conclusion. Can we move through slides? Yeah, good. This is the picture of the compliance story in Northland, which has driven us to where we are today. My message really is the way we're making decisions are resulting in this here. It's not a question of the technology. It's also a reflection of the engineering principles. By default, we are discharging to water. This technology allows us to discharge it to land. It also makes it much more culturally acceptable for our communities, and increasingly that's becoming their driver. While this presentation was given to the District Council, because they are more in their operational mode, I'm mindful there's the CCO going on. Northern Regional Council also has a role to play as the regulator, and that's some of the reflections I just wanted to bring awareness to this report. But also, when we think about Te Taumata Arowai and those standards that have just come down, their driver there is to deliver standards which are achievable. The unfortunate thing about that is they've not addressed the full range of contaminants that exist in the waste. The problem with that is, as well, it sets the signal towards industry to design to that basic standard. And that should be a red flag for us. Straight away, it's saying we only need to create a system that's going to comply with suspended solids or BOD or nutrients. But it doesn't mean we have to design for the rest. The default thinking is being reinforced to discharge. And
Rights have you got?
this is the last.
Okay.
This is the last. And the message is that that kind of mentality is going to lock us in for another 20, 30 years. Compliance does not mean safe, is the message. So for us towards you, we're just asking that you are mindful that we are in a paradigm which is going to simply reinforce the status quo, which is discharging to water, to a standard which does not meet the safety outcomes that are demanded by our communities. Tēnā tātou.
Over to councillors for questions. Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you. So my question was just great to hear that you've already presented to the today. Did you get any formal response from them, or have they come back to you with their position currently, understanding that we're in a state of change in terms of
To that end, no, simply because they are in a state of change. And I think very recently, in the last 10 days, the three councils have agreed to go to the next step in developing the CCO. We left specific recommendations to them about that arrangement, one of which being, not simply to rely on the engineering background or the wastewater background, because this issue is bigger than infrastructure. We need to have actually more, I would say, tikanga-led, more matauranga Māori, actually at the table in the beginning to set the design parameters. One of the unfortunate things that the Trust wrote to the council in looking at the paperwork that these three councils were going to sign off on, nothing in there sets a vision about the outcomes that they want to achieve. Whether it's affordability, whether it's about the state of the receiving environment. Those elements are entirely missing. It's very mechanical at this stage, setting up the entities and how they will operate. And that's a missed opportunity.
Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Darlene. See you again. The final District Council approved $1 million for the Omanai discharge. for BC. And you got the Parapara River stream discharge, Taipara one. And have they been installed? And if they have been installed, how's the monitoring of how they function?
Sure. The plants were, so these are 2 pilot plants, and the kit, the EC kit, was placed on those 2 sites maybe 12 months ago.
Yeah.
But if they've been turned on to work, it's only just in the last couple of weeks. Continually ran into difficulties with, while the money was there and everything was in place, there were always excuses about they couldn't get the solar panel, the electricity connected up, or one of the ponds needed desludging. Lots of maintenance issues, I would say. But I'm informed that those plants are getting turned on pretty quickly. We're certainly encouraging to get them started, you know, because the sooner we can start monitoring, the sooner we can see at community scale how effective this technology is.
That's a silly question. The Becker report was briefly done by FNDC in 2022. I just see the laboratory assessments of the EC in it, and I just couldn't find it.
They are there, but they were very minimal. And what I would say is that was a lab experiment, what we call bench scale, right? So the unit is like this big, and it's sitting on a bench, and they just you take some of the waste, you put it in, it's some outputs. It's not enough for real world. We need to be able to have one of these plants at a good community scale, like in Taipa, like in Raumini, working continuously, where you've actually got waste coming in all the time that you can manage. Be mindful of changing climate conditions. I think of Te Kiri as an example. It is one of the combined plants, but it's only built in 92% capacity of what's actually coming in. And that's on a fair weather day. With all these floods, we know that we've got 3 times the flow actually coming in. That plant is not able to deal with it. Things like EC can help.
So my follow-up question is, did Becker test whether EC destroys virus?
It didn't in particular, no. We did that test at Ora Retreat with Rolf and Inga's property. There we could actually see actually no, what my correction, it wasn't virus, it was looking at bacteria. Yeah.
So we go over to Councillor Morena and then Councillor Blackwell, please.
Raumini and Taipa are the only 2 pilot sites here in Taitugere. Is that right?
They're the only 2 pilot sites in Aotearoa.
Ah.
It's exciting, you know. They've got a chance really to lead out. Yeah, and I would say it's the hustle, it's the community that are leading, that are pushing that along.
Yeah, so my first statement is there's probably our first 2 more our communities who are experiencing this issue more than others. So we're in Raumini and Taipa. But you've made a statement, it works. And so is there evidence based on what's happening in China? If these are the only 2 that are existent in Aotearoa?
It is evidence-based also from the property where EC is running today, servicing 6, 7, 8 whare. So that's over a period of 5 years. We have monitoring results from that. So we know it works. And then looking at a lot of research online, you can review. I think we were looking at examples in Greece and in Turkey with communities of around 15,000 people, where the results were coming out and working. It's been a lot of study. This tech is more than 100 years old.
So this last question. So the technology works. My question is,
have we considered how it works within our local context?
That's the purpose really of something like kaipa and rawene. If we can see how it works there, what's needed to make it work effectively, then councils or whoever's going to be operating these treatment plants can size them appropriately, can cost them appropriately, can understand what operational support needs they might have.
Yes, thank you very much. I past life for the Kaipa District Councillor, thrown the deep end with a wastewater plant.
It's not a pretty place to be.
Yeah, you know, to spend all this, and very, very costly. So costs, think about costs. How does it work out? Cost the additional wastewater plant?
So, for example, at Rawene, there were some estimations that the cost to upgrade the Rawene plant would be of the order of 20 million. So the EC plant, because the community and the hapu pushed hard, they got everything in, including solar panels, for the order of 1 million. So in terms of cost, it's much cheaper. The other advantage is, you know, and we saw this in the past, we had all these oxidation ponds everywhere throughout the north, but then we had all these holiday makers coming out. They were doing, you know, contributing a bit more to it too. So we had to upgrade all those plants, and, you know, a pond takes up a lot of FEMA. And if you're going to upgrade it, you're making it even bigger. And there's huge costs there. The beauty with something like an EC unit which sits inside a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container is you can just kind of drop them into place. And it's enough for that meets capacity for that one community, or you can drop another one into place next to it, run them in parallel, or a third one to run them in parallel to take account for climate. So you turn them on as you need. If you're looking at a 1 million block here for that container, another 1 million block for that container, another 1 million block, you've suddenly got a climate resilient wastewater treatment option for this community for less than $10 million compared to one massive pond or a series of ponds running to the order of tens of millions. Does that help?
Very much so.
Thank you. I think there's details of operational costs in here as well, which are commensurate with normal.
Think about the same thing happens here. It was about 60 or 70% of my residents actually live in.
Yes.
So the holiday number here. They never saw the effects of the sewers until storms after they left.
Correct.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the three of coming here. And it's quite a big effort to come all this way to hopefully influence the council that might even be building this plant. But I understand your tactic is very sound. So one brief question. We, as councillors, will be entirely guided by our staff and their team.
Yes, yes.
Have you got a dialogue with our technical staff and sharing information? And is there anything else that perhaps we can do to make sure that you keep the dialogue going?
Thank you. We're an open book, and we would love the opportunity to do that, to support, because I think it's just bringing that awareness. If I think about regional councils and resource consent conditions for all of these 15, if I think to Taumata Arawai and the predecessor Water Services Authority saw the inconsistencies, right, between the consent conditions, what was being monitored for, what was not. I saw things like, talk about nitrates, nutrients, nitrogen. Right? When we discharge into water, we know the impact of that. But there was never any requirement to manage phosphorus. And this is something that sits squarely within the realm of regional council staff. And given the marketplace internationally for phosphorus and just how rare that is, the opportunity now that we have actually flushing it out into the outlet. But aside from the ecological effects it's having, we're missing this resource stream. So whatever help we can have, particularly since Te Taumata Arowai are only focusing on a very small subset of the actual contaminants of concern, we'd be very happy to help if we can.
I guess my advice to you would be to provide our staff with as much technical information as you're able, particularly where this is worked elsewhere. So it would help their staff. Thank you.
I was just going to ask if we could get a copy of the
Yeah, absolutely.
speech. Is it
Actually, in your agenda,
Oh.
a link.
So on the top page of my slide, QR code. Feel free to download it and any commentary will be.
Alenko taiki te mutu o tēnei whakāturanga i te atuana, e rongo atuana i toi. Tēnā koe, mau nei, i ngā whakaakoranga arātou. Off, Inga. Dankeschön. Thank you very much for a great presentation.
Your seats here.
You still have cushion one?
Too much sun here, look.
Sorry about that.
Right, despite the cramps, I hope you're okay, councillor.
Yeah.
We will move on with business of the day. And we are up to item 5.3, confirmation of minutes of 25th of March. Can I have the mover, please? Councillor Kitchen. Sorry, Councillor Carr.
Sorry about that.
All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Yes, it's carried.
Just make a comment, Chair. I did know quite think it was strongly that I couldn't get into the, just trying to get into that meeting. Apologies.
Oh,
Apology, I think.
Yeah.
We'll have it noted.
That's cool.
We're up to item 5.4, receipt of action sheet. That the action sheet be received. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McDonald and Councillor Mortimer, is the seconder. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's carried. We are up to item 6.1, financial report to March 2026. I will get a mover for it in the first instance. Thank you, Councillor Blackwell and Councillor Crawl. I'll leave it there for now and hand over to the speaker as
there's a sign.
Simon. Sorry.
Yep, summarise this financial report. 9 months into the year, we're reporting a favourable variance of 1.8 million, largely driven by salary savings 1.2 million, constant theme throughout the year, right? Now, given this constant theme and the correlation between salary savings and surplus, I did an early assessment on where I think these salary savings are going to be at the end of the year and how that will transpire into a year-end surplus. Right? So I forecast that the salary savings at the end of the year are going to be around approximately $500,000. And that translates into a surplus of around $1.2 million. Given that we need a target 1.074 million, you might recall we need 1.074 million to be taken from this year and applied into next year to offset rates reductions. This forecast suggests we're on target for that. And we have a little small buffer that can absorb cost pressures arising from the fuel energy price increases. On that note, I'll also do a little bit of an estimate on our this year's fuel spend and how I think that's going to end up at the end of the year if the conditions continue as they are. And it came out at about $43,000 over budget. And that would be the fuel on our fleet and also our diesel costs on our vessel. So overall, early indication says we're on target for our contribution to next year's offset of rating reduction, and we have a small but limited capacity to absorb some cost pressures from fuel price increases. That's probably where I'd leave it for me.
Right, councillor Carr.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Simon, are we considering the public transport fuel or just directly in?
It's just observable fuel prices. So what I could see on the fuel card, litres price per litre on the fuel card, and what I could see from McFall's diesel price. So just observable.
Just our focus.
Yeah. And it doesn't include other things too, non-observables. What's the impact on household spend, the pressure on household spend and how that relates to the rates payments prioritisation. So this is just purely what I can see and what I can justify.
I can see your hand, councillor Crawford. It's hard to see, but I can see it. It's only because the sun is shining on the screen. But
Okay.
over to you.
Okay, thanks, Simon. Your salary savings, at the moment 1.18, and you're going back to 500k. What's your direction on that? I didn't think we were employing a lot more people, or is there people coming on? What's your algorithm around that?
Yep. So it's actually 1.2 at the moment, salary savings, and we have taken on quite a lot of applications, and there is one in agenda 7.2 today that is asking to allocate some salary savings to non-budgeted expenditure. But there's the LG reform costs that have been salary savings being applied to, efficiency reviews, there's an environmental information network review. There was quite a lot of investigation business cases for river schemes. So all those have been taken into account that are going to, have recently been approved and will be maybe approved today, that are going to affect the next 3 months and bring it down to 500,000.
Okay, thank you. Well explained.
Other questions, councillor Crawford?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Very clear. I was really pleased with your assessment of the additional fuel costs. Is that possibly because we're leaning on electricity a little bit more and those costs go up, or is that not material?
Short answer is I don't know exactly the electricity impact, but I know that for 3 months, when you're looking at a 3-month window really from, or maybe March as well, March, April, May, June, 98% increase in diesel and 45% increase in petrol
Costs.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about what the implication might be for electricity usage, not so much its cost, but might be squeezed there. So I thought that if we're using appreciably more electricity, what's kind of pressure is that going to put on us?
Okay, well, I don't know that. I don't have that with me, but I can do.
Yeah, thank you. I worry, we're all employed to worry about these matters. How we're going to get through this. But I for one believe that we're hardly at the beginning of the reductions of fuel prices. I think it's going to go over quite a long time.
Sustainable.
Probably years.
Could be years if you want to. Thank you.
Councillor Hunt.
The presentation. So just, and obviously 9 months into 12, but we're getting pretty close to the end of the financial year. And so the certainty that you can predict full year's outcome increases obviously as time goes by. Doesn't it? So what are you comfortable with your obviously in life, there's always unexpected circumstances which we've experienced, but as time goes by, obviously the savings that have been made. So so I guess the forecast becomes far more certain.
I don't like giving much forecast. I don't like doing forecasts before 3/4 of the way through the year. So this is the first one I would normally do.
Yeah.
And as you say, next month I see what happens. I can get a bit more certainty in it. But yeah, I'm confident we're on target.
Simon, yeah, thank you. This is looking at touch on inflation and touch on fuel. Just thinking of next year going forward and how that's going to affect us. I spent $32,000 on Friday. It came on a truck and trailer, scored fertiliser. There was no nitrogen fertiliser in it, so it's not cheap. There's a trim increase now, it's expected to increase again. There are also inflation pressures coming on to us as a country. And looking forward to the next financial year, this Trump gets his act together and things change dramatically, which it could happen any day. We can expect things to get really tight in the future. But I just wonder, looking ahead, it's difficult to look ahead, but it could be really difficult for us.
I mean, I have looked ahead in terms of these observable things that I can price and forecast. And again, on fuel for the fleet and diesel for the Waikato, for pilot vessel, it's $141,000 more than I forecast we'll need for next year. Fuel alone.
But it drives everything.
Oh, I know.
I took about the fertilizer, but that came from depot in Darwin, but to get to my place, the price went up. Then it's straight at that price went up. And then there's a economic and carry on. And this is getting my head at that time, so.
Well, in the questions, Simon, to me, the team really appreciate it. The question is, can you assure us as councillors that fraud cannot be committed through any of our systems?
Assure you, I can assure you we've got controls that mitigate any fraud. People are coming up with new ways. We have external reviews. We're running 2 of them now in terms of conflict of interest and credit card. So we definitely have systems around to sort of review our systems and tell us the best practice. And I can't assure you no, but I can say I'm pretty confident that we've got a process that mitigates fraud.
Right, you see Bruce has got his hand up.
And Chair, the other comment I would add is that through the Audit and Risk Committee meetings, and every meeting we report on the control for the place for fraud, corruption and dishonesty. Sure that governments have built without any potential risks. Don't mitigate those risks.
In saying that, I took 2 avocados out of the staff room and still at my $2. So, yes, come to the kitchen.
Yeah, just a question here in relation to our recent adverse weather events. And the impact, can it have an impact on us with the end of the year? With the staff working more hours and river management stuff, it's just, yeah, it must have some effect.
It would have some effect, but I don't think it would be material things to the hearing. So,
Yes.
Just following on from the chair's question, I guess I think the tendering process obviously has to be robust and respected. Especially for large contracts that we determine, look at the Community Resilience Fund in terms of the accountability for sums of money. So I guess that's the area where, if people are tendering in concert, so you're not necessarily going to get a competitive tender. Are you comfortable that when you go out to tender for the large contracts, that you've got sufficient number of people who provide the work to make them a fair tender process?
Well, that's a very good question, John. And we are currently scoping an internal audit on that process in particular. Also, another piece of work we do is through the forensic accounting and the related transactions procedures that Simon's team performs. And we perform this year as well, Simon. Right?
Yeah, cool.
So we're trying to pick up any irregularities between those linkages.
I guess what I'm saying is that it could be a cosy arrangement between people tendering, and they say, look, they'll inform each other what they're pitching, so that's why I think if you have enough independent people tendering, that negates that possibility. But if it's a small number and you're aware that the tendering, but those numbers might be inflated a little bit for from that perspective. But sounds like a thank you.
While I make light of it in regard to the avocados, I really appreciate both of your answers. We really need to ensure that checks and balances are in place at all times. And I'm not saying you're either comfortable or complacent, but we must remain sharp at all times. Much appreciated. I'll just remind councillors that motion in regard to item 6.1 was moved by councillor Blackwell, seconded by councillor Carr. Just checking if there's any last questions or comments. There being none, all in favour say aye. On the contrary, it's carried. We are up to item 7.1. Councillor Whitespirit and
And move with recommendations.
thank you very much. Gail, please.
And can I just, before we proceed, I just wanted to, my computer goes down there. Just on page 35 in the conclusion, that first sentence, I think there's a typo where the word proposed is in the sentence twice. So I just wanted to suggest that everyone agreed that the first proposed could be deleted. Just a bit more fluid to read. Doesn't change the intent.
I can read it out if you like.
Chair, please.
It's got, in light of the substantial concerns raised by both experts and the local community, we oppose the proposed sand extraction activity proposed by and Councillor McDonald is recommending deletion of proposed so that it reads better, which I
Yes, councillor.
Yeah, just a question through to John. This is been described as the comment fast track panel. What's its status? Is it actually going to be considered actually as evidence?
Good chair. I might pass this on to Ruben. My understanding is they're not putting submissions through the fast track, and it is that they seek comment, but yes, that it goes through to the panel as comment from those parties that they provide for through this part of the process. So effectively, I guess you can consider it a submission. It's just that's not quite that's given legislation. But Ruben, have I got that right?
Good, John Cover Chair. Yeah, that's approximately right. The other element is that we are a party that's right comments. It does give us the ability to appeal the decision, but that appeal can only be made on as of law. So it's a very narrow appeal. So it's treated roughly as a submission. It doesn't have the same weight as evidence. And it does provide those parties that are invited to comment additional rights when it comes to the process following the decision.
The reason I was asking is it's a bit confusing, isn't it? Because if we haven't done our process properly, this submission would be mine as part of a procedural challenge to the High Court. We're saying very statement we oppose is quite a strong word. And I think my concern is that we're going to say something like that, have we shown that we've fully researched this matter, be able to say we've waited properly, things such as the economic aspect. It's asking that, and whether if this was evidence that was used in the decision making, whether the applicant might actually have some redress through challenging us, and I won't. Well, those are procedural questions, and I won't go into. I'll speak to once it's we open discussion.
Good, councillor. Okay, that's clear what you're asking. What's the response?
Kia ora. From my opinion, is that the risk of any proceeding on the basis of a comment that would provide to the fast track is negligible. My rationale behind that is we're a party that's been invited to provide comment, and in providing that comment, staff have supported council to support its comment through technical reports, and council has obviously relied upon those technical reports in terms of forming opinion or its position in this comment. In addition to that, the other tranche of council's role is obviously to represent the interests of its communities, which it has done so in providing its comment.
Any further questions or comments? Clearly, the councillor Paul is willing to move, but while the seconder, over to you first, councillor Mortimer.
Start page 34, conflict impacts. Fifth line down, spelling error of koutou kitana. You can add that.
Councillor Hunt.
So my question is with respect to the submission from the government. They asked that we don't present fast track. Have we got the capacity to make that request?
If you're the chair, we can put whatever comment we like in our comment to the panel. But I think the panel's been quite clear that groups such as the Green Bay Guardians don't have the capacity or ability to, but it's within your discretion to see what we.
Well, my thoughts are that we don't have the capacity to make that request,
So, Roland.
Sure. In that regard, the expert panel are very aware of and what we call unsolicited comment from a range of parties. In their latest minute, which I was going to pass on to the council, they basically said they will be issuing a minute addressing that correspondence very shortly. So that may be actually available prior to the adoption of all the comments.
So we are for
Yes, we are really.
Oh, yeah.
Over to you, councillor McDonald.
Kia ora, thank you. I'm happy to be a seconder. That position is still available. And I guess just wanting to voice my support for the comment that has been prepared. We've workshopped this thoroughly, and I want to acknowledge the previous council, which some of us were members of, for having the foresight to put aside resource to enable the council this term to have a budget ready to go in relation to commissioning the expert advice. So always nice when a previous council looks after a current council. And for me, this is a really balanced approach to our comment, and we've based it on that advice from technical experts which have expertise beyond those that we hold at this table. And also importantly, we are, without going into it too heavily, we are reflecting the values of our community, and that is our responsibility also. So yeah, appreciation to the staff who have drafted this a couple of times to get it right for us. And I think it seems to me that the expert panel are looking for our support when they go through this process of, they're looking to the regional council to be providing, I guess, meaningful input that can help them with their investigations and their decision making. So I'm very supportive of the drafted comment with that one little couple of typos fixed. And just surrounding the economics, we didn't commission economic advice, but there is some existing really good economic analysis. And there's also a bigger picture economic analysis, which I believe we signal the need for that to be looked at, but that's for the fast track panel and their bigger pot of resources to undertake that work. So yeah, just speaking for that.
For clarity, item 7.1, we now have two motions moved by councillor Crawl and seconded by councillor McDonald. It's open for further question or comment. Councillor Blackwood.
That was first.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we've got sufficient evidence to oppose. Because I've been very careful where consent clarity in their own right. Now, I thought the words do not support gave us adequate comfort there. And I think actually opposing it would have to really have the rigour of trying to put all the information together, analyse it, weigh it. I think I don't support. So I think we probably get the entire council voting for do not support the post. I think it's a step too far. Now I wonder where technically we should have been recommending fast, if we want to take that time, recommending to fast track hearing, that we should recommend that on the basis of the information that we have viewed, we recommend fine. I would that would be appropriate word rather than objective. I don't want to get pedantic, but I'll be voting against proposing, and I would vote for support of the statement we do not support, and probably have an entire council vote. I'll leave it to someone else that wants to make an amendment there.
Well, that's clear. Councillor Blackmore.
Yeah, I see it sort of one-sided argument forward to us, and from one point of view, we haven't got that much data. I'm a person that actually enjoys concrete. I make a lot of concrete. James said he loves coal. Making concrete is really important, but you have to have the right product. I don't think we've got that. So from an economic point of view, I'd like to see more data. Talk about what's coming out of the pipeline. If there are alternatives that are proven to be good, probably need some of these people that actually make concrete as a career. Kind of the pros and cons, but other products do about today. So it's a little bit like diesel. We take the diesel for granted, but money out of it, this country comes to its knees. Concrete is another product that is so important to the economy of the country. I think we have to get this right. Maybe Joe's amendment is probably quite a good idea. I don't want to be seen as seeing sand being extracted from the east coast at the cost of our nice beaches, because that's not what I'm here for. I want to see that protected, but I need a bit more data. Maybe if they get the sand 45 metres out, which is before, does that have any effect on us? Or is it economic to do it? And there's a lot of questions I have, not enough answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Other comments and questions? I've got one myself, but I'll just hold on to that. Councillor.
Look, this is something that I think is resonates very strongly with our community. Let me say, perhaps that I am very much in favour of the fast track process. I think New Zealand needs more economic development, but where it comes at the cost of the environment, I'm not in favour of it. I think it's unfortunate also that this cause has become a little bit anti-corporate, which I'm not. It should be, and it's become politicised. Stepping back to elected representatives of our community, and it's very, very clear that this community is not just opposed, but significantly opposed to this activity. And I do believe there are significant alternatives. Stack up for the activity. So on that basis, I'm happy for us to be opposed to that.
Councillor Morgan.
We've had a lot of evidence and discussion around the impacts of as to the economic value of the period. And we've worried about this particular issue we've talked about. And like John, this has been an issue that's at the forefront of our communities through and for the language that it comes.
you just, can you just read that statement again with the opposed in it?
It's right, would you like me to read it?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. That in the light of the substantial concerns raised by both the independent experts and the local community, we oppose the proposed sand extraction activity proposed by, and we remove it by NBL Limited. And I was suggesting is that we do not support. You heard that. That's, I agree. If you want to have a vote on that one, I'm happy to actually move it to amendment, so it can actually put the bed formally, right?
We'll just make sure that we're hearing from all of the councillors who want to speak. I'm one of those. This is my recall. When we first worked on this, the proposed word in the letter, in the draft, at the time was opposed. I wasn't happy with that. I made myself clear that I was going to make my decision based on facts, not emotion. And that, as I had said, that the environmental evidence was compelling, but the economic evidence wasn't. So on that basis, I supported the words "do not support" instead of "oppose." We then had a second workshop, which I realised not all councillors were there when we talked about this. And on reflecting on that discussion, I said that my position then, that was 7 weeks ago, was to move from where I was opposed. And I thought at that workshop was that the clear majority of councillors, I may have been wrong, because I asked that the staff write in the words oppose. It will soon be tested when we put these two motions. But I am supporting the word oppose being in that sentence, based on everything.
That's where I came into. I went for the opposed once I found out more from that community, 95% and whatever. Talking to John, where he lives and whatever, that's why I supported this stuff. Opposed, yeah.
Right, okay, thank you. Councillor, we do have it's moved by Councillor Coyle and seconded by Councillor McDonald. Councillor Carr, I'm just checking.
Yeah, I just so it can be recorded. That the word opposed struck out and we put words "do not support" from there. And yeah.
I'll take the right of reply from Councillor Coyle before we move to the amendment. Councillor.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's fine, whichever wants to do the amendment, but I just like to find out the right of reply. We have been through this argument, these arguments at least twice before now, and my recollection was at the last workshop, it was a 6-3.
Not an argument, discussion.
Yeah, discussion. Thank you. It was at least 6-3 in favour of opposed. And we've said here that we oppose the wording of this letter, which I believe to be done. We oppose on the basis of the lack of evidence provided by the applicant. We're not saying that everything's inherently bad. All we've said is that I'm really echoing John's concerns here that the applicant has provided not enough evidence regarding the potential ecological impacts. They've provided no evidence on the cumulative effects of multiple dredgings. And they've really addressed none of the geomorphology issues raised by Dr. Dixon. And their assessment of economic impacts has not been addressed by looking at alternative sources. So what we're saying is, and we're entitled to take a precautionary approach in this submission, we're entitled to take a precautionary approach. Because once you've said yes to it, it's all over. So what we're saying is we're taking the precautionary approach and opposing this application because of the lack of evidence provided by the applicant.
So that lack of evidence, is that in this report, or if this goes through, right, that we oppose,
that we had,
We'll see what the chairman.
once things take their course, we have a one-page saying we oppose this because of environment, this. Not, I'm just going to take a high and score.
To follow the process, the right of reply has been had, and amendment.
Sorry, just one minute. I'm say it's just a bit John Blackwell's. I agree with you, John. We'd all love a lot more data, but it's not our job to provide that data. It's the applicant's job to provide the data. We've already spent too much money of our own money trying to find information that they should have provided. It's not our job to do this. So we can rightfully oppose this application because it's deficient. So what's that?
Okay, so an amendment has been moved. Before I seek a seconder, I'll ask Kristen to read the words out, so we're all clear.
So the amendment would be to the second recommendation that council approve the draft comments on which council feedback to the expert panel regarding a fast track application for sand extraction by NBL, with the amendment to the conclusion to state that in light of the substantial concerns raised by both independent experts, we oppose the sand, we do not support the proposed sand extraction activity proposed by NBL.
Is that correct, Councillor Carr? Yes. Thank you. Is there a seconder for the amendment? Thank you. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion on what is now an amendment?
Dictionary. Do not oppose. What do not support and oppose. Instead of can somebody look it up in the English dictionary? Yes.
Have you looked at the dictionary, but generally speaking, I suppose do not support is the more neutral term than oppose.
That's a lot stronger.
Okay.
Yes, Councillor.
What I don't want to see is NRC listen, growth for absolutely. By changing it, it does say we are concerned, but not in the way of progress. That's what I'm worried about. Think about Shane Jones and say that it's really important that we seem to be on a level playing field. There is one that we're not trying to stop growth.
I think that was the exact point that Councillor Hunt made earlier, but I think he's about to reinforce that.
So I actually think that onshore endorsement as an alternative to the offshore settlement money, which where the predominance of jobs are available. So I actually think that there's an alternative, and it's a viable alternative that we actually do more from both, which I'm very much in favour of. That's my personal.
Have you got final comment, Councillor Carter, before I put this amendment?
Yeah, I'm working actually speak for it, never mind. Yeah, look, we're acting as the experts. We're talking about how manufactured sand is for us. I got a big family background with certified concrete businesses and stuff, so grew up household full of the damn stuff. And even windblown sand isn't as good as sea sand. Can't plastic sand very well. So the thing is about the really can't stand is they're actually part of the coastal ecology. They could come and go. They are part of the sand reserve. To say we're going up there, we're going to take it out, it's not affecting the sand reserve. It's wrong. And we should do it. But we're all standing around as experts and we're coming to an absolute conclusion of opposing, which I think is a bit of a test on process. And I always, if I was in a hearing, I'm just trying to think how I'd be responding to the matters. I'm just trying to use a bit of discipline. So I think by putting do not support it, we make a strong statement. And we are drawing out from the applicant They've got to provide the information to cover any deficiencies. And they haven't provided, you say, and it's up to them to provide it. And the fast track process already requiring the mining of mine seams of south of Taranaki, sort of acting like we're trying to determine an outcome waiting want rather than doing a good process. So I think we do not support good words, and I thoroughly support that we do not support it, like you. I agree that there's not a compelling argument, and what I've seen today to support it, that's the position I take. And I don't even know just I'm going to object to it, and even if I was going to object to it, I would recommend and advise that they decline the application. I wouldn't be objecting to it. So that objection is usually after the decision is made. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm not laying about, I'm not losing minutes sleep. Where's the amendment?
And I will put the amendments in a minute.
Just a technical question. If we don't oppose it, does that mean just say we pass a resolution that we do not support? Would that nullify our ability to appeal?
No, the legislation sets out that parties who are invited commenting have the ability to appeal on points of law.
Right, I think we've discussed this enough now. This is the amendment that has been moved by Councillor Carr and seconded by Councillor Blackwell. So we're voting on the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment say aye. Aye. Count mover and the seconder as the ayes. Those against? No. I declare the amendment lost. We'll move back to the substantive motions, which were moved by Councillor Craw and McDonald. I'm going to put those to the vote. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against?
I'm actually going to abstain.
Okay, that's clear. I'll declare the motions carried. We're moving on to item 7.2, efficiency and effectiveness review of council functions. I'll take a mover for the motions. Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. Sarah seconder, Councillor McDonald. Opening it up for questions and comments. Over to you, Bruce, to make some comments yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity. This report is on from the council workshop just in relation to the effectiveness and efficiency review. Council is directing, and it's essentially seeking approval for a budget of $200,000 funded from salary savings this current financial year to commence the effective and efficiency review, focusing initially on 4 activities, but with the intention to also provide a framework that can be reused by council to undertake a review of other activities. I'll leave it there, but happy to take any questions, Chair.
Councillor Crawford, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. As a council, wouldn't we set out the terms of reference first to get this review done?
Who's going to answer that question?
I can attempt to answer. I saw the workshop on the 1st of April. We were provided the direction, and the intention is that once we undertake the initial stage, we will bring that back to council prior to commencing the forward using those 4 activities.
I think the direction should come from councillors for terms of references. This is what we want, not what the staff want.
If I can, just to add to what Bruce has said, we had that second workshop where Bruce bought a paper that provided sought your guys' direction on process, time frame, which activities you'd like us to review, a sort of like a definition, I guess, and description of efficiency and effectiveness that we could provide. So Councillor Crawford, I feel anyway that we've got quite some on governance already as to those elements of it. Here we were seeking confirmation of that and budget so that we could do the recruitment process, and we spoke about doing a streamlined recruitment process. And in that workshop, we agreed with council that we were going to bring back once the consultant has been appointed and developed the draft framework to assess those 4 business areas. Before we actually get them to assess those 4 business areas, being biosecurity, catchment management, flood risk management, and corporate services, we were going to bring that framework back to councillors for councillors to review the framework, provide feedback on it, so we confirm the framework before the analysis of those 4 business units is actually undertaken. That's the direction I thought we took away from that workshop, on which Bruce is seeking confirmation now.
Look, I'm happy with that. That sounds great. It's a great process. I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Councillor Cuff.
I'd like to thank all involved in the progress in making of this today. I think when you go out in the procurement stage, you actually need to have your terms ready, because that defines the scope of what you want done. You have to make bid on it otherwise. So I think we've got to do that. Councillor Crawford was suggesting. And the other thing is got conflicts of interest involved in that. Our normal procurement procedures delegated that to the staff, and really having the staff actually do the procurement process for this review really is appropriate. So we need to discuss it. Probably working group. Councillors should.
Yes.
You're the chair. I'm not sure what the conflict of interest is, but so the process is you're confirming the scope of works. We're then taking that scope of works, and Bruce and the team will put it into an RFP that will go out. Our procurement policy provides that it's staff, like governance provides the direction which you're doing, and staff then go and implement that and run the procurement process. If there's any, we've got provisions in there around if there are any individual conflicts of interest, but our procurement process doesn't provide for governance to go out and do procurement. That's what you've heard.
So, well, I think in this one, you do have conflict of interest in this, because the staff might, for status quo, prevail, would select a consultancy that they put. I'm not saying that might well reflect they want more. And this is actually a review council laws for this council. We're actually talking effectiveness, I should say, of mechanics of the council itself, i.e. how well it operates. It's a conflict there. I think we need conflict acting involved. I think we need to debate it. We might go against some advice on that one. This is almost like it's we have a CEO review, performance review. We're actually talking about a council.
So, before you go, Councillor Kitchen, in terms of speaking order, Deanne, I've been very remiss in that I can hardly see the hands going up on the screen, but I can see your hand is up. Over to you,
Yeah,
Dean.
thank you through the chair. I don't see any form of conflict of interest here. This is business as usual. It is common practice that the chief executive, and under our policies statements, that he has the ability to appoint those that review his internal practices within the organisation. And I just think we're dredging up the wrong thing here. I believe Jono and Bruce have done as per your policies, and there's no perceived conflict of interest. A conflict of interest to me infers that, for example, if Jono was being reviewed as a CEO, obviously he wouldn't appoint that. You as councillors would appoint his committee to review him, but he's actually reviewing his business units, which is quite different.
Councillor.
Yeah, I was just looking at the external facilitator, so they've got the job to go and do it. So their finding will ultimately come back to us around the table. And I just want to go how the staff may, you think the staff may fit those findings, Joe, somehow.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, wonderful article in the New Zealand Herald about Wellington Council, and Andrew Lillard is going to actually have sufficient funding so he can get independent legal advice from the council, right? And certain things actually need to have a distance. And I just, with due respect to Dan, I just think this is one of those zones that trying to do something truly independent for ourselves as councillors to help us govern. I feel we're in that sort of range, and yeah.
The motions, and they are now motions under item 7.2, been moved by Councillor Blackwell, seconded by Councillor McDonald, by Reid of the Councillor Carson. You're supportive of those, but to take in mind the conflict of interest.
Yes.
On that basis, unless there's any other questions, I'm going to put these motions. Well, all in favour say aye. Aye. Against, that is carried. Thank you very much. We're up to item number 3.
If I can just speak just quickly, just to the point raised. Please be assured from my perspective that myself and ELT are supportive of an efficiency and effectiveness review. We're looking forward to findings and the opportunities, and there is no, from my perspective as the CEO for the organisation, view of trying to get a particular outcome. We want and look forward to an independent, and PwC or any of those other outfits that are out there, they've got their own, they're external, they're independent, they will make their own recommendations based on the assessment of the organisation. And yeah, I guess I'm just trying to provide some reassurance here that we will run a rigorous, transparent process to make sure that the opportunity of doing an efficiency and effectiveness review is maximised.
Councillor Blackwell first.
So any business can always be improved. So this is supporting that in theory. We're going with option 3. We're going with 1 and 2 recommendations in option 3. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. No, I support option 3. Yeah.
It's just to wrap up. I think the important thing to remember is that initial meeting when we have that whether it's how to do their job. So we set the parameters and then it's just a following few reports on it. It's thoroughly independent. I'm very confident this.
So the question I ask is if you don't have terms of reference, how prospective bidders, to provide a cost-based bid, this is what we want to pay. You need to define the word. This is where Councillor Corporate is a really valid comment. So I think we've got a little bit of work to do. But we better
Nobody's denying that. Yeah, Bruce.
We will provide a scope to all parties that are invited to bid on the tender. And in fact, in the agenda, essentially it's the direction, we'll provide the scope that was the direction that council provided to us, which is on page 86, states, the third paragraph down, the purpose of the review, support, states what it is. That there will be reflected into a detailed brief that will go to the members and simplify. It's in line with council's direction.
So when we cover that workshop sometime. So
We'll take that on board. Thank you, Councillor Carr. This is all in relation to my question around the finances and making sure that we've got checks and balances across the whole organisation so that we scrutinise decisions. So this one, I can assure us all, will be given added scrutiny as we move forward. But we've been asked if we can workshop that, and we'll take that on board. That's enough.
Just one quick comment. We're not aware that the big CA firms in terms of this review. I think that there are some, I mean, I mentioned some who work with the Newcastle City Council, they've got this conflict of interest. There's a friend of mine who's the deputy mayor, but he said that they employed another entity. I have no problem if we don't go with them, but they were quite across the board. He thought they got about 70 codes. So I know from experience that the big CA firms charge like wounded bulls, and I would prefer that we get an open mind.
Right. Thank you all. We are up to item 7.3. It's in relation to Malton SOI. There are 3 recommendations. I'm seeking a mover, please. Councillor Mortimer is the mover, and Councillor McDonald is the second. Darryl, any comment?
Yeah, just in terms of, I created the paper just again, just following the workshop discussion, just looking to separate out what I had understood to be the comments where there were shared support and agreement around the workshop table in attachment 1 from the area where there was some disagreement around the table. Just I looked to do that to make sure that that area was clearly identified and separate and didn't affect the broader range of comments that where there were common views across the around the council workshop table. Certainly, in terms of my discussion with the other councils, as they have gone through their own internal processes. I think the issues that you have outlined and raised there in attachment 1 are very much aligned with the direction of travel and the comment that has come out from other shareholder councils of Northland Inc as well. So that's sort of substantive issue that we're looking here just reference.
Thank you, Darryl, and I did follow the exchange of emails from various councillors. The exchange, it's very helpful, and it's a link to this paper. Questions and comments from councillors, please.
So Jim, question there, I might want to answer it. Is North Main seats and gets significant funding from government, significant funding, really reliant, and they produce J-Red and North Main, we produce infrastructure strategies and stuff like that. We actually need to have a statement that our major funder would be comfortable with, and that should be a test that we put this through. As far as Darryl might like to respond to that, do you think that's going to resonate positively with the government?
Yeah, that all right, Gerald? Well, while you're on it,
Yeah.
I'll go to councillor Crawford and see while you catch your breath.
Okay, thanks, Chair. As in my response through my email about this carbon zero, now the reason it was pulled out last time, as our committee all agreed, all in favour to remove it as a KPI, is because it's mainly a government direction. And when you look at Northern Inc, it's $2 million budget. Half of that goes into turning the lights on. How much effort goes into this to show any level of success? And if you're not going to do it properly and try and generate level of success, what are we actually measuring? Because to do this properly, and I know, Amy, you said as a, I forget what you said in your email, but I can visualize it as a, what do you say, as a reference point or something like that. How much, what do we take out of what they do in another direction? Like up above, we see Maori businesses and all that. You know, what does it take away from doing their core business? And if you set up, I think, Amy, you said you set up a reference point, or you'll have to say, I can't remember your email, on the lines that it wasn't a big deal. It is actually a big deal because somebody has to do it. And then you have to have a KPI to reference them and to measure their response. And for me, when I think it's such, I wouldn't say wishy-washy measurement, most businesses I talk to are on the journey anyway, because it's more efficient if you can be more efficient with your energy. I don't think we need, I wouldn't expect Northern Inc to turn up to my business and give me direction. I would expect them to turn up and say, how is your health and safety going? Do you need more support? Are your employment issues going all right? You know, we've got this, we've just developed this infrastructure plan. Would you like to know about that, for example? And that sort of stuff, as I would have thought Northern Inc was more aligned to doing than doing something that this government has aligned themselves with. That's my discussion. I will vote for it. I will not support it as a JRED member. So I'm just letting you know where I stand, really, in my reasoning.
Right, yep, okay. Councillor McDonald.
Suggest something procedural to maybe help us make a bit of progress. So there's 3 recommendations, but Bell has helpfully split the content. So potentially we can proceed quite efficiently with 1 and 2. And I think the point that Councillor Crawford was just raising is recommendation 3. So I don't know if it's helpful to take them separately to ensure we get the bulk of the work done.
I think it is helpful. Are you okay with that as the mover, Councillor Morgan, to just do numbers 1 and 2? Okay, so for what our recommendations are now, motions for item 7.3, numbers 1 and 2, leaving 3 out for now.
Yep.
I'll put those to the floor. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, it's carried. So we'll move to number 3 on its own. And I shall seek a mover and a seconder. Okay, I'll take the same. Councillor Moruga and McDonald as the mover and the seconder for number 3. Right. Councillor Crawford's already made himself clear. Any other comments?
I can make a brief comment, Mr. Chairman. I think encouraging business to go to move to transition towards net zeros, it just makes economic sense. It's just that all we're doing is shining the light on the pathway forward. We're all suffering because of our inability to be transition in the past. We're still running in debt to fossil fuels here. We can't seem to move out of that. And we put a little bit more effort, well, a lot more effort to this 10 years ago, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I'd like to point out that many other jurisdictions, even in New Zealand, are far more advanced than us. You've only got to look at places like South Australia, which is net exporter of solar power. They're actually giving power away. And we insist upon being backward in this regard. So I don't know why we are doing this. I think we need to be encouraging. We're not making any requirements for anybody. We're just encouraging people to be forward thinking in the way they think about using energy. Simple matter. I don't think it's any more than that.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt.
On that note, Jack, would you be happy to reword it? Because to me, it looks that there's almost like a mandatory element for the businesses, which I'm certainly not in favour of. The business is hard enough at the moment without being told that you need to meet certain carbon target. I think I hear what you're saying, but I think New Zealand has a habit of being virtuous, which comes to our own detriment. You've got what is shutting down Hastings, you've got the entity up in katoa, who are all combining the exorbitant price of gas, commercial gas, and I think we've made that here. Unfortunately, we're doing our own business now, and we're doing our own prosperity. So I hear what you're saying. I'd be happy to have it reworded, but I don't want business to feel that it's a mandatory element.
Back to you, Councillor Hunt. Back to you, Councillor Crawford.
I just want to put it right. I don't think, I'm not against anything Jack Cross said, and we're all on the same journey here. I'm just against putting a KPI in against Northland Inc. to drive this, when they're going to struggle to get a lot of their KPIs achieved anyway. This is something else that dilutes from their main core purpose, which is joint economic development. Now, is to unlock that. And I just think it's widening their scope. And for me, to show success for Northland Inc. is to narrow their scope as much as possible and show success. For me, this is just another chink and money and effort goes into something that they probably won't show a lot of success on. I'm not saying we wouldn't do that way as well, but I just see it's just something that dilutes their role on what they should be striving to achieve in other directions.
Thank you. I did note that Councillor Hunt had put a question to Councillor Crawford about would a change in words be considered?
Yeah, I'd consider it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's note that John just pointed out what is the KPI? If you look at the footnote on the 95, it says number of Northland businesses taking action to reduce their emissions. That's not that. And the second one is the number of Northland businesses supported to meet climate action targets set by central government. That's pretty. It's pretty small increments, aren't they? It's not a big demand. But if John, I think I'm listening to you, John. If you've got an idea of how we can make this a little bit more encouraging rather than mandatory. Yeah. I don't consider it to be mandatory but they are now. We're all saying we're going to measure how many people are doing this, but isn't doing it. Not.
I guess the message to the government to support what you're saying is if you put it in writing, then some overzealous people might repeat to it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm able to. It's a different wording if anyone come up with.
Councillor McDonald.
Just that last paragraph on page 95 kind of talks about a slight pivot and focus around, rather than it being, around necessarily emissions reduction, a kind of broader picture around reduction of fossil fuel energy consumption or dependence. I'm not sure what the reading could be, but it could be rather than taking action to reduce their emissions, it could be taking action to increase their energy resilience or something. I don't know. I'm not too sure what wording you might feel more comfortable with, John.
I guess what I'm saying is that business is tough.
Yeah.
And obviously we're dealing with the implications of certain means and actions right now. And I think that I think most businesses do want to be energy efficient, and they are moving towards it. And solar's become much more efficient over the last 2 decades. So I think I prefer trust businesses to actually run their business cost effectively than to give them guidance down this path. That's my sense. And I don't know what in terms of wording this, but I just think it's businesses that generally are inherently efficient, and most of them are not bad. Well, most of them are environmentalists.
I'm going to go to Councillor Moreno, and unless we can find some appropriate words, I might leave it to lie on the table. Councillor Moreno.
Yeah, so I don't have any appropriate words, so apologies on that. But how I see it is it's transition. And so we're moving from where we currently are to where we eventually want to be. The sense of the sense that I'm getting is it needs to be implemented by tomorrow. And I don't, that's not what we're suggesting here. What at the minimum we will be able to get though is data to what our businesses are using in terms of their energy systems. And what this is suggesting is to support the mining, new technology, infrastructure, information, and it'll just provide. I don't see it being a huge task for Northland Inc. in terms of a KPI aspect, but perhaps just to provide information, data, and also for us to get data around how we transition and move towards net zero carbon.
For clarity, and it's more for clarity for myself, I guess, we are on item 7.3, number 3, and there is a conversation between councillors to find some words for the attachment 2, page 95, particularly the last paragraph, unless we can find some appropriate word right now. I think Councillor McDonald may be coming up with those words.
Kia ora. Yeah, I have some words that I would be comfortable with that I guess it's interesting to know others would be comfortable. So just looking at that, the previous KPI, the footnote on page 95, number of Northland businesses taking action to reduce their emissions. I suggest that we could change that, I guess we would make it as an addition to the third recommendation, that the suggested KPI wording could be number of Northland businesses supported to increase energy efficiency. And I guess just I understand that efficiency is what drives businesses. And so maybe you're all thinking I'm crazy wanting to have it in here because it's inherent in business systems. But to me, bringing these KPIs through is how we as governance ensure that the way we communicate with our CCO aligns with the commitment that we have made. So we're committed to this aligns with our own KPIs for NRC. We've made commitments under our climate change strategy, and we've got commitments in Taiki and the Pioneer there for climate crisis. So to me, this is just about a signal to our CCO that for our council that is an important thing. And we're not requiring any specific target. It's more that we, as Councillor Morton has said, it gives us information and data that over the years we can look at. And I will also say this is only our position that we bring to the JRED table. There's another voting and discussion that will happen. So I think I would like to see us bring it to the table and have a further discussion. And I think by changing the wording, it can maybe feel a little bit more relevant to the pressures that our businesses are under now and the kind of trajectory we know we need to go on in the nation.
I want to be clear what you suggested here, Councillor Moore. Councillor Knoll.
Yep. Oh, so the recommendation we have on the table is recommendation 3.
Yes.
Sorry, scrolling back. Which is that the proposed shareholder comment is set out in attachment 2 to this agenda item, specifically associated with the key performance indicator relating to supporting business transition to net zero carbon, be provided to the Joint Regional Economic Development Committee for their consideration at their meeting on the 24th of April. I'm suggesting something quite different. So, how do we do that?
So, have I got it clear that you want to amend the KPI that's in the footnotes to attachment 2? So, we'll be providing a comment with the with the replacement to footnote 1 and the wording
Yeah.
suggested.
I guess what I would say is it feels that maybe there's some discomfort in the room with some of the wording that the recommendation 3 and stuff. So, it might need an amendment there to change the recommendation, and it could be as short as it be instead of the KPI. Sorry, it's not.
Well, this is what I heard. Councillor Hutton asked Councillor Call, would you consider a change in words, of which Councillor Call said yes. And so we're trying to find those words. We need to find them because Councillor Crawford has got something to say. Over to you.
Okay, just talking about words, like for myself, the key words for me is to remove the key performance indicator. And it should be just an aspiration, because when you have a key performance indicator, it's still got to be reported on. And this is really what I'm getting at. What are we going to do with that information? The government puts it out probably every 6 months or 12 monthly. How much effort, do we understand the effort that Northland Inc. will have to put into to report on this key performing indicator? Because every key performance indicator we put in needs to be reported on. That's what I'm getting at. I would like that key performance indicator totally removed, and it should be replaced with an aspiration to assist businesses in their development, because then they have to report back to us as shareholders on it. Do we want, do we need all that information?
While we're trying to reconcile, given that we've got a motion on the floor, mover and a seconder, that we test this and put it as it is.
Yeah, but I think there's a way through. I think John and I might be in agreement here that we could just change the words to the wording in attachment 2. We might get across the line without having to change recommendation 3. Okay? And I mean, I'll take it into account Jeff's comments. I can measure these things, but I'll feel assured by John that we do measure. Darren does know what fuel use is like in Northland. So we're not asking actually Darren and his team to actually go and do a whole lot more analysis, gather more data. That be true? We already have the data we need to be able to report on the energy consumption or dependence, or else, or efforts towards the bringing resilience. We've got enough data out there that we can report on that. Is that correct?
Ourselves, no. There are certainly people who have done some work in terms of looking at energy consumption in Northland. For example, ECA have done some work looking at that, and again, this is one of those things that even though it's not necessarily been part of their particular KPI, but because it is part of a broader pieces of work that central government have been doing to try and council, Northland Inc. have been working on that as part of the process anyway.
So how did we're able to report on that 2 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not no extra.
So well, I mean that ECA thing, for example, is not necessarily a KPI of Northland Inc., but again, just as reflectant of the broader pieces of activities that are being undertaken by central government in Northland, and wanting to look and support that where they are supporting businesses. Again, they just got alongside and did that as part of their just the broader the work program, not necessarily because it was a KPI that they did. So just while I have the floor, Chair, so just in terms of the attachment to with the shareholder, that being the shareholder comment, that proposed shareholder comment. Within that, we normally, with our shareholder comments, we provide look a little bit of context to the direction that has been given in our shareholder comment. So hence a little bit about the background there in attachment to the first couple of paragraphs. But in paragraph 3, there is a proposed KPI that for Northland Inc. to consider, and we had worded it here around in terms of assisting businesses take action to reduce fossil fuel energy consumption or dependence. There's been a suggestion, for example, from Councillor McDonald that perhaps we could perhaps reframe that, and this is where that would look to be reframed, is that we would look to replace that description in terms that I just read out with looking for businesses to increase the energy efficiency would be the example that would be inserted there instead.
But I think I've got some words.
This is going on far too long for my liking. And I've got only a couple of choices in front of me, which is I put the motion as it is and then test whether it's going to fly or not, or I leave it to lie on the table until we can find some appropriate words. Now, I really don't want to toing and froing around the council table to find words.
Well, I think I might mention.
So this is the last chance to learn.
For three, that Northern Link maintains focus on improving energy efficiency, referencing the ECA report. And I tried to get the report today. In trouble to actually download it, but I read it, and it's in the. If you go to the JRED agendas, you'll find that read report in there, and I think that actually captures it. There's a whole lot of work's been done by ECCA. We're not talking about KPIs, we're talking about wising people up to what the energy uses are, the alternatives, and I think that would capture.
But I've written something on the aspirational drive for energy efficiency. But I have chosen.
How the mover and the second are feeling about that suggestion?
I think I'm comfortable with what Daryl has described. So flipping the second to last sentence on page 95 from being about reducing fossil fuel energy consumption and dependence into increasing or supporting increased energy efficiency. And I think it probably captures that. Daryl's heard us and he'll be working to bring that paper toward JRED. So I feel like if we keep it broad enough, it's probably enough to get us to the JRED paper. We will be a second conversation and a second vote.
I see some subdued nodding towards that, to what Amy has just outlined as the amended wording on attachment 2, second to last sentence, which takes out reduce fossil fuel energy consumption or dependence and changing it to
increase of energy.
Yeah. Is that clear?
Yes, but we haven't changed 3. And that was what I was trying to do, that those words.
But on the basis of what I've heard, we don't need to change 3 because we're changing.
No, you've got KPIs all those in there, supporting business transition to net zero carbon. It's the regular report considers that, but it's actually it's evaluated all the potential energy we can get from low grade mine trees. It's a back report, and I think if we get deleted 3 and put that Northern Link maintains focus on improving energy efficiency, referencing the ECA report, and that's what they're all referenced, and I agree with it. Yeah.
Well, I think what we've done is we've agreed to change the words in attachment 2, page 95, and go to number 3, references. Attachment 2, we have a mover and a seconder. Unless there's an amendment, I'm going to put this motion.
Well, I'll put my words as an amendment.
Okay.
Well, it's actually standard change. I don't know if you said.
Yeah, well, let's hear the amendment.
Okay, well, you replace the wording, say that Northern Link maintains focus, its focus on improving energy efficiency, referencing the ECA report.
Is there a seconder to the amendment?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Right, any comments or questions to the amendment? There being none, I shall put the motion or the amendment. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Can I just see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. All against, all 5. Those against the amendment? 1, 2, 3. The amendment is carried, which now becomes the substantive motion. So in terms of, how does it work now?
So the substantive motion which Councillor Harris put forward, if there's no further amendments or changes to that, then we put it again.
So what had been put as an amendment is now the substantive motion. Any speakers to that?
All right, just a question around, I guess, clarity. So your wording was that it's focus or maintains focus?
Maintains focus.
Yeah, so I guess a question to you, Daryl, around if we give feedback in the statement of intent that we want them to maintain focus on something, how is that reported? Because I guess the use of the KPI gives clarity around documenting and reporting and makes it easy for governance to have visibility. How do we maintain visibility of that?
Chair, while Gerald's thinking, unless you've got it in there as a KPI, you're not going to get any specific reporting. It's a general comment of wanting to maintain focus and ask them periodically of how you're maintaining the focus, but you won't get specific KPI reporting. So what?
Right, any other questions or comments?
Is that in regards to just recommendations?
Yes.
And in the past means that attachment 2 is annulled, just a brief. Excellent.
I'm going to put what is now the substantive motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? 2, 3. Motion is carried. We shall move on.
I do have what's with you, Gerald. Just quickly, I've heard you using the words wishy-washy today, Daryl, and the vision and mission. It's got the references equity, yet down below it says, sorry, I'm on page 92. Again, it says there's very little reference to how equity will be improved. So improved is kind of like not enough. And so we're not monitoring, measuring, or managing what the equitable outcome is going to be. And lastly, tomorrow there was no correlation between economic development and what NRC with Te Moanui has in the pipeline for the economic wānanga. I just want to make that, put a note for that. So I feel there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
By Councillor Morena. We are up to item 7.4 and it's on page 96, minutes or 2. Councillors willing to put their hands up to fill those gaps.
I'd like to put Councillor for Councillor Blackburn.
Third one.
I nominate Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, here we go.
Right, we're going to now put them both together with those names in it. Councillors Craw, Blackwell and Hunt. Is there a mover?
Also move.
Councillor Kitchen, Councillor Carr, all in favour say aye. Against, it's carried. Congratulations.
May you never be called upon.
We are up to which one?
Well, that was only convened once in the last term. It was highly unusual circumstance.
Health and safety. Thank you. Councillor McDonald is the mover. Councillor Morgan is the seconder. Any comments or questions for the motion?
It's the staff good report.
Yeah, I think it was a great report, and it provides a lot of details about the challenges that our team is facing out in the field. There's some really serious concerns in this report about what staff are having to put up with. In the first instance, I really acknowledge those challenges, dangers, particularly given the world is getting crazier. So really appreciate the report. Councillor Blackwell.
Those vehicle accidents, off the graph, it's, I think we can thank Mr. Trump.
Any other comments or questions? Oh, I'm sorry, then I quick on time on you. And I saw you sitting down back, but
Just a short question, please. There is a record in the report of firearms. What was the nature of that incident?
Chair. So we did have an incident logged around a firearm incident. It was a discharge of a firearm off in the distance. Staff were on site. So from a risk perspective, the staff undertook a decision just to remove themselves from that site, just while we sought further information. So the staff moved to risk.
Thank you. Right. Putting the motion there, all in favour say aye. Aye. Contrary? That's carried. We are up to the Chair's report. Thank you, Chair. Page 105. I'll move it myself. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. Any comments? Is there anything I didn't make clear?
Great photos.
Great work. I'd just like to comment that the Balance Fund was a great night, and I'd like to thank the staff for their involvement with that. We got NRC got really good coverage in that event. So yeah, thank you very much.
Right. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Against? Carried. We are up to the CE's report to council, item 2.3. Well, I'll get a mover and a seconder. Kitchen. Councillor Kitchen and McDonald. Would you like to highlight?
Sure, Chair, in the interest of time, happy to take it as read. We've only got the one highlight section this time, and it's around the severe weather event. And just acknowledging the impact that's on our communities, and acknowledging that this is one we've had since the start of this year, and acknowledging our staff. We're going from one response, we're still recovering from the past one, and then we're straight into responding to another one. So wanting to highlight it there and acknowledge our staff and the mihi that in the front line and behind the scenes, and answer any questions.
Yeah, I'd like to support the statement. See, great job of staff done. Huge work, and really appreciate it. The March 26th flood in Katoa, I just wonder what sort of things that I understand EPC staff were present during that event. Because with good notification coming. And I'll just leave the question there, but I felt that our staff might have had the sort of support just our NRC on the scene staff. So I'm asking a question, not making a statement. Yeah.
We need
and I don't mean
told today.
Okay.
Yeah.
In case there is an answer though,
Yeah, the chair, I know Louisa, the grip, the resilience with manager is online. If there's any initial response, Louisa, otherwise we'll really come back to you with some detail.
I'll come back to you. I don't need a public response.
I think we, as chair of CDM, we are now in the recovery phase, so there's still work going on, and there will be a review, and I think once that stuff comes out, Joey, we'll have more of and you may be able to ask those questions moving forward. Yeah, and answer them.
Councillor Crawford.
Okay, thank you. I just want to go over the KMR. I know you've got two people there that sit on the KMR group. When you start reading this, you think there's a lot of work going on, but it's actually not broken down as I understand it. This is since KMR started, like it's got 2.97 million plants, 1,800 hectares are planted. Why don't we get it more broken down as in sort of 1 year so we can actually see if they're improving from the last year? Is this a rolling, just rolls on 472 hours, but it'd be quite nice to know what's happening per year or per quarter. It's got data collected at the end of each quarter, but it just seems to be added on. It's hard to keep up with it. You know, we don't know whether they're
Happy to take that feedback back and go and work with KMR to make it so you're right, these are cumulative figures a lot of the time here, so that provide some reporting in here that provides more of a snapshot of more recent works, which is essentially, I think, what you're seeking.
Like, it'd be good to know what they've done this year.
Yep.
I'm open to get into some of their, through my own land with KMR, but to look, I'd like to, more measurements.
Councillor Blackman.
I was going to talk about, you want me to talk about KMR? There's that map on page 115 showing rainfall verified 3% delivered to different areas. I'm in the red here. We had no rainfall area, extremely low, and you just see that first flood here. But it just shows how different it is, how different this little windfall of Northland is, and how talk about road security. We talk about Highway 1. Look at it here. A lot of it goes through the blue and the high rainfall areas. Yet the west side, Kerry Forest goes up through what's considered the low rainfall area. How important it is to operate. Yeah, it's hard to believe we have such a variance of rainfall in such a small area.
Very good. I shall put the motion, which is item 8.3, moved by Councillor Kitchen, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favour say aye. Aye. To the contrary, declare that carried and move on to item 8.4, Family, People and Culture Report. Can I have a mover for the motion of recommendation? Councillor McDonald. Can I have a seconder, please? I can take Councillor McDonald. Any questions or comments?
I think staff for the report.
Yes, great report. Thank you very much. On the motion, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that is carried. We are up to item 9.1, which is on page 145.
Onward.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Any questions or comments? If none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, it's carried. Item 9.2 is next, Working Party Updates Report, page 163. It's that the report being received. Can I have a mover? Councillor Moore and Councillor Black. Any questions or comments on that report?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to congratulate everybody actually, Team and staff on the very successful Team meeting we had at Tony about. For those that work there, NRC got some huge raps really, about the way we handle flooding and the way we communicate with those communities and, you know, and the stark difference in opinion of those, that community, us regard it's against the other council. So it was quite an eye opener to me to see that we are really doing pretty well, whether it be flood planning or be implementation or whether it be warnings. In fact, the whole operation right through from flood planning right through the CDM part seems to be quite seamless, and I was very pleased with that.
Any other comments or questions?
Second, Jack.
In the meantime, I shall put the motion. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, that is carried. We are up to business with public excluded.